On August 24th, 1992, Hurricane Andrew struck the south coast of Florida with a fury so intense it became the most devastating storm in United States history. The winds roared through the Homestead, Florida area at 140 miles per hour and gusted to speeds of more than 175. When the 4-hour ordeal was over, nearly 29,000 people were rendered homeless. Another 120,000 homes were severely damaged. The community was virtually destroyed.
We were in the living room, the front door blew open. It sounded like an explosion.
Because I was inside the trailer, and the only thing I can see was the mobile home fly, pieces of the mobile home.
Our roof came off, our doors was blown off, our windows was blown out, our trees were uprooted. Everything was just haywire.
I hope I never have to go through anything like that again in my life.
Some of the toughest firefighters I've seen sit down and cry like a baby. You cannot see your neighborhood and your homes destroyed and people hurt like this without tearing you up.
I remember the hurricane, and it was like a nightmare come true, and I was really, really scared, and I'm gonna remember that the rest of my life.
The rest of the country was shocked by the massive devastation caused by Hurricane Andrew. Hearts went out to the people of Homestead, and help began arriving from around the country, bringing assistance to the victims of the storm.
I can still recall the absolutely shocking news coverage of the devastation down there and the human consequence that involves. And you can't help but feel, isn't there more that we could do? But when you think about the way really people across our whole country have mobilized help for the people in that community, I'm just very pleased that General Motors and the UAW have been an important part of that response to the problem.
We got together after the hurricane, just like everybody else, and said, is there something we can do? The UAW and GM together to show our concern for the people down in Homestead, and we came up, well, we have a trailer that we were working on, which opens up like 3 trailers, and it's air conditioned. We offered our trailer to haul things down or whatever they need, and we loaded up the trailer and took it down to Homestead.
Well, one of the problems of working in a disaster when you're trying to help people is a place to do it. The thing that helped us incredibly after the disaster here in Hurricane Andrew was to have the UAW GM truck come down and, in effect, set up a portable social service office for us.
I guess what stood out more in my mind was that the people had no place to go or nothing left. A lot of them people down there didn't have a whole lot to start with, and they just completely lost everything.
I think it had been so long since a hurricane had really hit our area, square on, that a lot of people had difficulty relating to what does 140-mile-an-hour winds mean. Now I have a good idea what that means.
It's absolutely for sure, no question about it, it is going to happen tonight. You want to pin down where this eye is going to come ashore?
Well, it looks more and more like maybe even South Dade County. The center will be very close into the Cutler Ridge area, for instance, maybe the Homestead area, but coming right across to South Dade County here.
Trying to explain what the hurricane is like is trying to explain what the color red is to somebody who's never seen it.
About midnight, the winds start picking up, the rain start picking up. Of course, the activity continues to pick up. Everybody should have had everything done they're going to do.
I often wondered what would happen if I thought I really was going to die. And having my children there, my granddaughter there, I was afraid that I would be the survival and that I'd see them gone. And I couldn't have handled that.
When you see us move and you're watching us, we want you to move to your safe spot.
The winds got pretty strong. We're in the fringe area. We're not even in the eye wall, and our antennas blew away. Then our radar, the radome, blew right off the roof of this building. We had a gust of 164 miles per hour, and the anemometer blew away.
To the noise, it's indescribable. I guess if you could put yourself at the airport and listen to the Concorde take off and run a train right next to it, it's unbearable.
I told my husband, something gonna happen. He said, no, nothing gonna happen, you know. Like before, I just water, raining, wind. And we stay, he said, no, I'm gonna stay, so I stay with you. If you die, I die too.
Now, as the hurricane bore down on us, and we're sitting here watching the wind dial and then literally feeling the building sway a little bit.
During the storm, there was no time. It was just fear.
Do not think that you are in any way safe if you have not hunkered down and got that mattress over you, friends. This is the time to do it.
I was petrified that I was not going to make it out alive.
We're asking everybody to get into a position where they can be safe, not be moving about for the next couple hours, because we're about 15 minutes away from supposedly the worst part of the storm.
I have to watch my sister. Get back in this bedroom. You're gonna die. You're gonna die.
Likely to get worse again. Okay.
Okay, and how long? About how long?
We have a long time to go.
Oh,
okay.
God.
We have hours to go here before this is over. It's going to be very, very difficult, and you're just going to have to decide, we're going to stick this out, and we're going to stick together, and we're going to make it through it, okay?
Okay.
It's chilling that the things we just sat here and talked about a couple hours ago are happening in almost precise detail. 164 miles per hour is what the winds peaked out at the hurricane center. 164 miles per hour.
It doesn't hit home until it hits home. You get to a point where, you know, you're complacent about things, but until Mother Nature lets you know just how big you really are, you find out very quickly how fragile things are.
Well, along about Saturday, we began to have the sinking realization that we were in for something that was unprecedented.
This was like nothing you'd ever seen before, and it was the whole idea of trying to get your mind around it, what turned out to be like the damage from a tornado, but instead of a little 100-yard swath, it was 30 to 35 miles.
By Monday morning, it was clear that our worst fears were there. It was just a shock. I mean, you don't expect to see anything like that in America.
And it took us days to really cut into places to know the extent of the damage.
House after house, the entire roofs were gone. Not just the roofing material, but I mean the roof, the trusses, everything. The windows were blown in, the houses were just gutted inside.
My jewelry box had opened, and it fell under my toy dollhouse, and it split in half.
People were wandering around kind of dazed. It was almost like there'd been a bombing attack. All the street signs were down, all the electricity was out.
And everybody's face was white. And jaws were slack, people were in tears, men and women alike, and everybody looked like a zombie.
Well, I was born and raised here in Homestead, and I know the whole area blindfolded. However, this is the one time that I didn't know where I was. And I was standing there in the traffic, just looking and staring, and that's when I realized I was on US 1, not by any of the landmarks or anything that I remember. Everything was totally distorted.
As you're driving to work, you're looking around saying, this can't be Homestead, and this got to be someplace else because I don't recognize anything.
And one day, you know, this tropical, subtropical paradise is bright green, and the next day there isn't a leaf anywhere. It was gray and muddy, and everybody was washed out.
And I've done this for now nearly 30 years. And I've looked at the damage from all major hurricanes, from Hurricane Betsy in '65 through the present. Once I got down into the area that was struck by this hurricane, it was almost incomprehensible as to what had taken place there, because there is no comparison to any previous hurricane.
First time I actually saw the damage, I was strapped into a helicopter, and we flew down from Miami, and as I looked, I cried like a baby. And my reaction is, my God, what has happened to us here?
We tend to think about things like Homestead as not happening to me. But the reality is they can happen anywhere. They can happen to all of us. And we just need to think about that kind of trauma and tragedy in that way. And I think that if we do, that's what really motivates us to reach out in the way that that I think we've been able to do in the Homestead situation.
This could have been any one of us, any community that we have a plant located in. It could have been in Missouri, it could have been a tornado rather than a hurricane, or it could have been an earthquake in California rather than a hurricane. And I think that the feeling our membership will have is that, yes, our union reached out, and the company we work for reached out to help people, and if anything happens to me like that, I know they're there to reach out again.
The UAW-GM workers made it possible for us to function. Without their help, there's no telling what would have happened. They came at a time when we were desperate for help, and they provided not only labor, manual labor, but some skilled labor as well.
When we got down there, the victims were very depressed. It had been a long time of being turned upside down, of being out in the weather, of not being able to be in their homes.
I was able to help some of the people that otherwise might not have gotten help that day.
One day they had a home and stores and whatever. There was a town there, and there's nothing now.
And that's where we began, with absolutely nothing. When people such as the UAW-GM bring a trailer down, our needs were so simple in the early days, knowing that there is a group of people from far, far away, as everything was when we were so isolated, that care enough to bring a trailer down and say, here, we are here to help.
I could talk about it probably for the next 10 years, and unless you were there to actually see it, it would be hard for anyone to understand how bad it was down there.
There was no running water. There was no telephones. There were no cellular phones. There were no radio towers. There were no tin cans with strings. There was nothing. We were totally isolated.
Oh, when I look outside and I see the rubble out there, I try to turn and look another way. I hate looking at it. Like my children's birth certificates, my kids' diplomas from school, and a lot of family portraits was lost in this. And due to those things, we can never recapture. And so it's a total loss, and I try not to look at it.
I went out one time and talked to a family that had survived the night in their home. Each time the wind blew a different section of their roof off, they went into a smaller room. They ended up in the bathroom where the mother and father talked to their kids about what it was going to be like to die, tried to describe heaven to them. And I think that this is what happened to people's lives.
You see, what happened here was we were hit not only where we live, but where we work. And without outside help, we would not have been able to survive. I don't mean get by, I mean survive.
People from all over America were loading up trucks. We're just saying, hey, those folks need help. The whole thing got a kind of a do-it-yourself air to it, and that was the most inspiring thing you ever saw.
We would not be where we are had it not been the people coming first, coming to this community and helping us. The people throughout the United States put those things on big old 18-wheelers and brought them in.
We made 11 trips in all down to Florida with 48-foot van body trailers. We hauled a lot of water down and medical supplies, canned foods, paper products. We would get a call from the Salvation Army in Detroit when they had what they felt was a full load. Then we would dispatch a trailer and some drivers and pick up the load and head down to Florida with it.
Well, I was able to help because being bilingual, I was able to speak Spanish and interpret a lot of the people down there what they needed.
At first, we thought there was nobody out there that actually cared about what happened here, but they did. There's a lot of people that we have to give thanks for, and vehicles like this that they've actually brought out to help us.
I wouldn't want anybody to go through what we went through. What we went through the first days, you think, you know, where are we going to get food from? Everything is destroyed.
Well, thank you so much for, you know, the people in Detroit. We really, really appreciate it. I'm so grateful.
The message is that we can't do it alone. The Salvation Army is a facilitator of the hurricane recovery. We take folks like the UAW GM personnel, we work with them. We take volunteers from many of the nonprofit agencies. This is a horrendous experience to go through. People suffer terribly, but there is nothing more comforting than to know that somebody cares.
When you talk about landmarks that emerged after the storm that represented help, certainly the trailer was one of several that were down here. Keep in mind, we had no place left really for people to go, you know, and to get help.
You want to be able to help your family, and you want to be able to help get things together, but you just can't.
I think that I continually sort of felt a helplessness that everybody did. I wish that there was some way I could put, you know, your family and your home back together. I can't do that, but I can put my arms around you. And I can tell you that, you know, we are going to help you and keep trying to help you, and you will not be forgotten.
Occasionally I run across people that would say, you know, it's different when you've never had to ask for help. And now, you know, we're in a situation where we have to ask for help, and then, you know, you give us pride. You know, you don't make us feel like we are begging.
People had to stand in long lines, you know, just to get food or water. And people who were helping out try to treat people with dignity. Basic needs needed to be taken care of.
I talked to one gentleman, say he worked for a GM a few years back. He lost everything he had after moving there. He looked up and he seen the UAW GM trailer. I said, go right in. He was really proud that the UAW GM was there for him.
We had over 1,500 volunteers come in from out of the state to give us a hand, and we couldn't have survived without it. We just learned that we are one big, although we're a diverse country, we're one big community. And if somebody's hurting, somebody else is going to help.
You know, we had GM people volunteer to go down there to leave their families. And the way that this whole homestead idea developed through the Human Resource Center is another good example of how People First extends beyond just the company and UAW members, but also to our nation in addressing a real tragic situation.
I left there with a feeling that I had really helped, and I had done something to help people that was there that really needed someone to talk to, and a shoulder to cry on, and I just felt really good about myself and about my company being able to send me.
I wish we could have done more. I think it's just like everybody else in America, trying to have a helping hand for those that are injured or lost everything. I mean, you know, it's a devastating thing to happen to a person.
I keep a logbook, and when August 24th rolled around, I logged Hurricane Andrew. You know, it got to a point that I just wrote in the book, just, you know, just God help us, because that's all I could say.
If we forget the individual, then we're forgetting our real purpose here. There's so many individuals that are suffering here, and there's so many individual ways that we can help. So if anybody says they don't need me, that's not so. We do need you.
The one thing I said the most in Spanish when I was down there was muchas gracias y Dios va contigo. They said that it was thank you and God be with you.
Well, let me just tell you what I saw in terms of firefighters, emergency rescue people, and police, law enforcement people. I saw some of them whose own homes had been destroyed, who were on the job and had been on the job for 48 hours, telling their superiors, look, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I still get choked up.
They were working, their families were homes by themselves. Sometimes it was 24 or 36 hours before they even knew if their families were alive or dead.
Keep in mind that I had 80 sworn police officers in this location, this police department, and over 65 of them lost their homes.
We had, prior to the storm, possibly 50 employees, full-time and part-time. Of the 50, we lost half. Of the half remaining, half of them totally lost their home.
We had probably 85% of our city gone, just gone. If you can imagine in your city taking 85% of it out.
If you look behind me, you'll see all the street signs that are down. Well, it's real hard telling people to go to a certain street since there's no street sign there.
Well, where we're standing right now is where a shopping center was. I mean, we're standing inside of somebody's store, somebody's livelihood. You know, I mean, it's pretty hard to fathom. Where we're standing is where people made their living.
There was a lot of kids down there, a lot of small babies, toddlers that just, you could tell they just didn't understand what happened. There was no way you could explain it to them.
It just tugged at your heartstrings to see small children, whole families living in nothing more than visqueen wrapped around a framework of 2x4s. Everything they owned being in that little cubicle.
The children have seen too much. The children have really experienced too much pain. We're hearing children talk about death all the time. We're hearing kids who are totally scared of the slightest wind or anything that has to do with a turbulence. You know, something is coming along and it's scary.
It's really scary because you don't know if you're going to live or if you're going to die. I get really bad dreams about it, and it's like a big, huge place that you're living in, and it just gets crushed down to nothing.
Entonces, ahora les hace falta muchas cosas que no las tenemos.
These children are also very afraid of the rain and the wind, thinking that the hurricane is returning, is coming back to take away what little they have now.
They make pictures of big eyes. They make pictures of snakes that gobble up little children, and they call them Andrew.
The wounded community is what we have here, but I think a community that is showing signs that it can and wants to recover.
To this day, I still say Homestead's a feisty, independent little community, and it will be on that character that Homestead rebuilds.
We have what it takes. We have the desire, particularly in this area where there's a lot of agriculture. We have people with tremendous determination and a lot of guts, but we need help.
I think you really get a lot more done when you have a group of people that's willing to get together and help.
I know we made a difference down there. It could be just because of all of the effort that everyone put forward down there.
A hurricane is a great equalizer. It hurts everybody, no matter what economic group you live in.
It didn't make any difference whether you're black, white, Hispanic, male, female, big, little, political, mayor of the city, or just somebody that was a tourist and happened to be here during the storm. It made no difference. Everybody was totally equal after that storm came through.
And if you think that you're on top of the world and you're better than somebody else, it basically doesn't mean a thing. You can lose it, and we lost it in 8 hours. And it can happen to anybody.
Whatever you do, okay, you got to remember, you're a little speck on this earth, and Mother Nature can just a puff of wind and she can blow it all away and not even think twice about it.
It was a sad thing, but you were alive.
And that's the most important thing, is you survive and you can rebuild your life. It might not be the same as it was, but you can rebuild, and you have your family around you, and you have your friends for the support that you need. And that's very, very important.
Now that we have gone through this, I take each day one day at a time. I don't take anything for granted. I try to live the best I can and do whatever I can to make each day my best.
I only touched just a few people. But when I left, there was tears in both of our eyes as some of the people that we met that I didn't want to go home.
The storm didn't just blow down our walls, it blew down the separation between black and white and Hispanic, between rich and poor, and we found that we are neighbors and we are our brother's keepers. And then when people from outside responded the way they did, I think that all of our lives will be different because of Hurricane Andrew. When you look at it in that regard, we are determined to make something positive come out of it.
You can never understand what it's like until you've lived through it.
It's really scary because you don't know if you're going to live or if you're going to die.
I can't describe the pain we have felt here over this.
To create a vision of homes like matchsticks on the ground, all the trees uprooted. And when you talk to the people is when you really were impacted by what had happened.
We are very patient and gentle with each other in this community right now because we have all lost so much.
Looked like somebody dropped a bomb.
We'll never forget the folks that came to us from all over the United States with their love and their money and their resources to help us rebuild.
Thank you so much. You know, the people in Detroit, we really, really appreciate it. I'm so grateful.
The human spirit is made of rubber. It bounces back.
I've learned to appreciate the small things in life that we take every day for granted.